Let me tell you of my future. My hand will reach out into the stars, reshaping the galaxy into a place of order and unity. Under my reign, the kingdoms of old shall live again, reborn to an age of power and glory, the like of which you can only imagine. I will rule every planet touched by the light of this star, and even in the darkness beyond. My name will be whispered with fear and respect.
Imhotep is the pharaoh of the Sautekh dynasty of the Infinite Empire. Among the greatest generals to lead the Necron armies during the War in Heaven, the so-called Stormlord is among the greatest strategists to ever grace the stars. Capable of commanding simultaneous interstellar campaigns, none can discern the true intents of his strategies due to his ability to weave meticulous raids, counterattacks, and reinforcements with seemingly omnipresent skill. Always several steps ahead of his opponents, Imhotep's versatile and contingent-laden battle plans are the envy of all who purport themselves to be leaders of warriors. Due to the meticulousness of his plans, only the most barbaric and illogical foes can undermine his strategies, such as the Orcs. As such, the Stormlord's goal of eradicating the Greenskins from existence is among the most paramount of his desires. Awakening from his 60 million year slumber to a galaxy still reeling from endless war, the Stormlord of the Necrons upon his reanimation would find his tomb world, Mandragora, to be in disarray. The ruling pharaoh of the Sautekh dynasty had perished during hibernation, leaving the remaining nobles to squabble for their seizure of power. For a Terran decade, the nobles fought among themselves, suspending the revival of other nobles to prevent further competition from exacerbating the civil war. Yet one such foolish noble, in his attempt to curry favor with the Stormlord, awakened him from dormancy with hopes of recruiting him to his cause. Enraged at the prospect not only of the conflict, but the duplicitous methods the nobles were willing to abase themselves to, Imhotep looked upon the anarchy of Mandragora with disgust. Ending the civil war swiftly to prevent further disaster, the Stormlord marshaled an army of his own devising and destroyed every one of the usurpers to the throne. Claiming Mandragora for himself, Imhotep as the new pharaoh of the Sautekh dynasty forbade further infighting, making examples of any who initially refused to abide by his will. Ruling with an iron fist and harnessing his reputation as among the greatest military generals to ever grace the stars, Imhotep's dominion of his dynasty has become unassailable. Embittered towards the Nemesor of the crown world of Gedrim, Zandrek, the mind-addled general, though posing little threat to the Stormlord's dynasty, remains the only contemporary lord of Imhotep's caliber. Embarking upon the stars once more, the Stormlord, after years of preparation, unleashed his armies upon the primitives of the Void during 781.M41. Leading the defense of the world of Somenor, 20 years following from the Eldar craft world of Alatok, Imhotep's veterancy from the War in Heaven proved crucial to his combating of the Necron's ancient foe. Ensnaring the overconfident Eldari Farseer, Eldaroth Starbane, into a trap within the stasis tomb of Somenor, Imhotep exterminated every one of the brash and arrogant Eldar. Amputating Starbane's right hand, yet allowing him to live, Imhotep's act of humiliation allows for his enemies to endure their shame of defeat, inciting them to ill-fought reprisals, incurring further casualties for their blind, emotional outbursts. Such a method of disgrace has become somewhat of a calling card of the Stormlord. Laying claim to the Imperial Forge world of Hypnoth during 910.M41, despite reinforcement of the world by the humans' Imperial Guard and Space Marines, the conflict endured for several months. With the assertions of Orokan the Diviner's prophecies of victory, Imhotep would break the stalemate by simultaneously attacking the supply world of Praetor Zeta and Nyx, yet uncover a more deceptive enemy lurking within the underbelly of the worlds. The Tyranid menace had infested the world of Nyx, threatening to sunder the Stormlord's well-made plans. Yet once the storm had grown, it could not be sheltered from, and with determination and toil, the Stormlord weaved a strategy to manipulate the Devourer to attack the Imperial forces. Introducing the Mechanophage under Hypnoth, the armored vehicles and defensive structures eroded and collapsed into useless debris. Besting the Flesh Tearers and Iron Hand Space Marine chapters in combat, the Stormlord claimed the world of Hypnoth, forcing the Imperium to retreat from the campaign. Once more facing the Adeptus Astartes during the Battle of Schrödinger 7 during 930.M41, the Stormlord battled among humanity's most zealous and deadly champions, the Black Templars. Descending upon the Ice World and slaying the local defenders, the Astropathic Choirs dispatched a distress signal. Marshal Helbrecht of the Black Templars answered the call for aid, yet the Stormlord had prepared for the Strike Force's arrival. Despite Helbrecht's ferocious assault, the Black Templars' Alpha Strike blunted against the might of the Sautek dynasty. Dueling Helbrecht in single combat upon an ice bridge of the caverns, the Stormlord, regardless of suffering grievous and relentless strikes, repaired each devastating blow. Though Helbrecht was the greater duelist, he could not match the technological marvels of Necrodermis, and such tired, allowing for several wounds to be incurred. Severing Helbrecht's right hand to forever remind him of his much-deserved defeat, the Stormlord remarked as a final insult,
"You have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 of your years, and yet have so little to account, to show for your efforts. Such failure must be as depressing to bear as it is shameful to behold."
Victorious once again over the rabble of the galaxy, though the Black Templars retreated from the battle, the venerable Marshal could not allow such an insult to go unpunished. Swearing an oath of vengeance against the Stormlord, Helbrecht orchestrated an ambush of Imhotep's flagship, the Inevitable Conqueror, 55 years later. In the vicinity of Davatus, Helbrecht's Crusade fleet set upon their nemesis. Unleashing broadsides onto the Cairn-class tomb ship from their own battle barge, Sigismund, the now stranded flagship, was ripe for retribution. Teleporting within the Inevitable Conqueror, Helbrecht led a strike team that within minutes overwhelmed the crew of the flagship. Regardless of his monumental pride, the Stormlord's logic proved superior and caused the Pharaon to retreat from the battle, denying his enemy his prize. Forcing the Inevitable Conqueror to collide with the system's nearest star, Helbrecht, though unsuccessful in his quest to kill Imhotep, would settle for the annihilation of his prized flagship. Escaping from the Black Templars, to this day, the now ascended High Marshal holds a deep grudge to one day face the Stormlord again in combat, once and for all ending their feud. Beset once more by the Astartes during 988.M41, during the Battle of Valoth IV, the Stormlord would once again face the Space Marines, this time led by the Great Wolf, Logan Grimnar. Bested in combat by the rabid fury of the Space Wolves, Imhotep's forces stood in the path of the Great Wolf's quest to slay the Necron trickster, Trazyn the Infinite, and thus proving to be a hollow victory for the Vilka Fenrika. Demanding vast amounts of soldiers from other dynasties and Necron overlords to keep his armies at full strength, the Stormlord is keenly aware that numbers alone cannot hope to achieve his ultimate goal of Necron supremacy across the galaxy. Employing terror as a weapon whenever possible, his forces advance under storm-blackened skies as their luminescent beams of weapons fire turn their enemies to ash. Dividing his opponent's forces to be subsumed by the storm, Imhotep allows Bloodswarm nanoscarabs to pick off stragglers and allows for flayed ones to rend such scattered forces into ribbons. Yet pride is the most exploitable weakness of the Stormlord, for in the heat of battle, Imhotep seeks to display his superiority in duels with enemy commanders. Capable of being bested only by the most elite of strategists, the Stormlord's dynasty grows with each solar cycle and shows no signs of diminishing. Presiding over 80 tomb worlds of his domain and over 400 alien worlds claimed by his hand, Imhotep has ground untold alien civilizations into dust in just 2 centuries, causing alien races such as the humans to take notice of his growing power. The realm of Ultramar's northern borders now stand, ready to face the Sautekh dynasty. Armed with the Staff of the Destroyer, Imhotep's ancient ornamental Staff of Office was first wielded by Zehet, the founder of the Sautekh dynasty. Able to unleash pan-dimensional energies capable of felling even the mightiest of war engines, its immense power is restrained only by its need to recharge between blasts. His gauntlet of fire spews green flame capable of summoning blazing columns. The Phase Shifter protects Imhotep from harm by rendering projectiles inert as they pass through him, whilst the Phylactery bolsters the swift repair of any damage incurred to his necrodermis body. Outfitted with sempiternal weave augmetics to further strengthen his armor, such a panoply befits his station as a member of the Necron nobility. For any below his station, whether alien primitives or even the subjects of his own people, shall not impede the Stormlord's quest to reclaim the galaxy for the Necrons. Yet with the return of Sarek the Silent King, the Triarch imperils Imhotep's image as the great unifier of his people. The Stormlord's pride already proven to be a vice. Only time will tell if his opposition to the Silent King shall undo all he has so deservedly claimed.